The American Spotlight studio dazzles under a shower of lights, the atmosphere crackling with electric energy, as if primed for an impending media storm. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest press secretary in White House history, walks onto the stage with an assured smile, her eyes sharp as a blade. A soft murmur sweeps through the audience. Cameras on, but none of them realize the bombshell she is about to drop, one aimed squarely at former Vice President Kamala Harris. The saga began just last week, when Harris, in a viral post, took a swing at Leavitt, dismissing her as Trump's immature spokesperson and accusing her of nothing more than peddling fake news. Leavitt, furious but calm, held back her retort. Instead, she took a week to prepare, and now she's ready to expose Harris for what she truly is. "I have an interesting story about Ms. Harris," Leavitt begins, her voice composed, but her words razor-sharp. She loves playing the role of the progressive leader, but there are secrets she doesn't want the American people to know. A stunned silence falls over the room as Leavitt lays out the bombshells one by one. She accuses Harris of concealing President Biden's failing health, abandoning the border to criminal gangs, and being deemed a liability by Barack Obama himself. Leavitt pauses, allowing the gravity of the moment to sink in. Before diving deeper, she encourages viewers to comment where they're watching from and reminds them to subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments. The tension in the room intensifies as Leavitt continues, delivering blow after blow. Laura Ingraham, the host, leans forward, her eyes gleaming. "You've made some serious allegations, Karoline. Give the audience more details." Leavitt, sitting upright in a sleek gray suit, looks unwavering. "Kamala Harris claims to be a progressive leader, but the reality is far different. As vice president, she was tasked with securing the border. She failed miserably. Internal documents we've seen show that Harris ignored repeated warnings about gang activity, including MS-13. The result? Crime surged in major cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and Houston. Drugs flooded in, violence spiked, and Harris chose silence, prioritizing her political image over public safety. Leavitt lets the weight of her words land before Ingraham, sensing the heat, presses further. "What about the 2024 campaign?" Leavitt flashes a cold smile and pulls out a stack of documents, allegedly Democratic internal emails, though their authenticity remains in question. In the 2024 campaign, Harris knew that Joe Biden's health was deteriorating rapidly, but instead of addressing it, she hid the truth. She held secret meetings to silence advisors, putting her personal ambition ahead of the nation's best interests. This not only cost them the election, but also eroded trust in the Democratic Party. Leavitt turns another page, her voice gaining strength. "What's worse, Barack Obama and several top Democrats called Harris a liability. One email in particular had Obama bluntly saying that she was unfit to represent the party. Yet, Harris clung to power despite internal opposition." Ingraham, now on the edge of her seat, presses, "You claim Harris neglected national security. Do you have any specific examples?" Leavitt doesn't hesitate. In 2022, an intelligence report warned Harris about MS-13 activity at the Texas border. She ignored it. When Governor Abbott proposed increasing security, Harris rejected it. The result? A gang-related violence outbreak in Houston that left dozens dead. Harris preferred media appearances over taking action. That's not failure. That's betrayal. Leavitt's words sting as she emphasizes each point, her voice full of righteous anger. The audience murmurs, some nodding, others shaking their heads. Ingraham, sensing the momentum, asks, "Do you think Harris should face legal consequences?" Leavitt smiles coldly. "Americans will decide. These documents show that Harris isn't just incompetent. She's unethical. Justice will come, one way or another." Leavitt flips another page, detailing how Harris allegedly pressured Democratic allies to cover up her failures. She threatened to withdraw campaign funding from senators who dared to criticize her border policies. That's manipulation, not leadership. The room hums with a mix of applause and dissent. Elsewhere, in her Capitol office, Jasmine Crockett watches Leavitt's accusations unfold on live TV. A Texas Congresswoman and a member of the Squad, Crockett is no stranger to political dirty tricks. Leavitt's claims are nothing but a hit job, Crockett mutters to herself. She's seen enough. Determined to defend Harris, she begins drafting a response for an upcoming congressional hearing. The next morning, in the Capitol hearing room, the air is thick with anticipation. Lawmakers sit with poised attention as cameras from major news outlets prepare to capture every word. Crockett steps to the podium, her navy suit symbolizing her strength. After hearing Leavitt's damning accusations on the American spotlight, Crockett is ready to strike back, not just to defend Harris, but to expose the manipulative games being played. Yesterday, we witnessed a TV performance, not the truth, but a scripted drama designed to smear a woman who has spent her life fighting for justice. Kamala Harris. Crockett begins, her voice calm yet forceful. As she holds up her own stack of documents, she turns the tables on Leavitt's claims. Under Harris's leadership, Border Patrol funding increased by 15%, and immigrant crime arrests reached record highs. She didn't ignore reports. She led operations to dismantle gangs like MS-13. What Leavitt calls chaos was, in reality, Harris's tireless effort to balance security and humanity. Crockett pauses, letting her words land before shifting the discussion to Biden's health. Leavitt claims that Harris concealed Biden's health, but in reality, she was the first to demand transparency, holding press briefings and answering every question. She flips a page. And those documents that Leavitt presents as proof of Obama criticizing Harris, they were fabricated. Experts have confirmed these emails were altered with editing software. Leavitt didn't just lie. She manipulated the truth to divide us. The room erupts with applause, but Crockett isn't finished. Harris has received public scrutiny in every phase of her career, but she's never backed down. She's fought for women's rights, for minority communities, and for those left behind. Meanwhile, Leavitt's fake documents only serve to confuse the public. A Republican senator interrupts, accusing Harris of failing at the border, but Crockett isn't rattled. Let's talk about borders. Your party cut security budgets in 2023, leaving Harris with limited resources. Don't blame the cleaner when you made the mess. The room bursts into laughter as the Republicans sit in stunned silence. Crockett continues, Leavitt called Harris a liability, but she's the real liability, spreading fake news to please her masters. The applause from Democrats is deafening, but Crockett's voice rises with passion. Harris faced unprecedented challenges, and she stood tall. I'm proud to stand with her. The media frenzy continues as Crockett leaves the podium, determined to press on. As she drafts a new speech in her office, Leavitt watches, knowing the battle isn't over. The clash between the two women has escalated to a media war that will only intensify. After Crockett's speech, Harris takes the stage at the Lincoln Convention Center, surrounded by cameras and reporters. Her speech is calm, measured, but filled with resolve. I stand here not to defend myself, but to clarify, Harris begins. I didn't hide the truth about Joe Biden's health. Throughout the 2024 campaign, I engaged openly with the press. Harris continues. Leavitt claims I failed at the border, but I worked tirelessly to strengthen security while maintaining America's humanitarian values. We increased budgets, dismantled criminal networks, and protected thousands of families. Her voice grows firmer. Leavitt's documents are nothing but a hoax. Experts confirmed they were fabricated. I trust Americans. They're smarter than to fall for these lies. The crowd applauds, chanting, Kamala! Kamala! Harris gestures to Crockett, who stands beside her. Jasmine and I have worked together and will continue to fight for the truth. Meanwhile, Leavitt watches Harris's speech on TV. She clenches her fists, knowing the real fight is just beginning. The media war rages on, with both women preparing for the next round. As the drama unfolds, the public remains divided, with both sides holding firm to their beliefs. But one thing is clear. The battle for truth, transparency, and justice has only just begun. As the days pass, The media storm intensifies, and Karoline Leavitt's name continues to dominate the headlines. Her accusations against Kamala Harris have ignited a wildfire across the nation. Right-wing outlets hail her as a hero for exposing the so-called corruption within the Democratic Party, while left-leaning media outlets scramble to defend Harris and her record. In Washington, the pressure on Harris and her team to respond grows with every passing hour. After a brief respite, Harris convenes with her closest advisors in a high-security meeting at the White House. The atmosphere is tense, the weight of the situation pressing down on each of them. "We need a strategy to counteract this," Harris tells her team, her tone firm and resolute. "We've been through worse, and we'll get through this too." Her advisors nod, understanding the gravity of the situation. A plan begins to take shape. Harris, once a tough prosecutor who had faced political challenges head-on, knows how to navigate treacherous waters. But this time, the stakes are higher. It's not just her reputation on the line. It's the future of the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt, with the White House's backing, prepares for her next move. She's not finished yet. She knows that every word she says will be scrutinized. But she's ready. With her loyal team behind her, she's determined to continue the fight, bringing forward more documents, more accusations, and more strategies to keep the media war raging. For Leavitt, this isn't just about her personal ambitions. It's about ensuring that the truth is exposed and the country sees Kamala Harris for who she truly is. The next chapter in this media battle is set to unfold at the upcoming press conference, where Leavitt is expected to unveil even more explosive revelations about Harris. Leavitt, knowing the world is watching, steps up to the podium with poise and confidence. She opens the press conference with a calm, calculated smile, ready to deliver the next salvo in the war. "As I stand here today, I do so knowing that truth is not just something we talk about. It's something we act on," she begins, her voice steady and commanding. "The documents we've released show a pattern of neglect, of corruption, and of incompetence. Kamala Harris has failed the American people, and I will not stand by and allow this to continue." The room is silent, hanging on every word. Leavitt, with each sentence, tightens her grip on the narrative. She points to the charts, the reports, and the emails she's been so meticulous in preparing. "These documents speak for themselves," she says. "They show how Harris's inaction at the border has cost lives, and how her refusal to act has endangered national security. We're not just talking about policy failures here. We're talking about lives lost, families destroyed, and cities overrun by gangs and violence." Journalists jot down notes, eager to catch the latest twist in this political drama. Some seem convinced by Leavitt's evidence, while others remain skeptical, waiting for Harris's team to strike back. But Leavitt is unrelenting. She presses forward, her voice now more urgent. "The American people deserve better than this. We need leaders who will take responsibility for their actions, not hide behind a facade of progressive ideals while failing to act when it counts." At that moment, a few hours later, Harris and her team prepare for their own counterattack. Harris knows the stakes are higher than ever, and she's not about to back down. Her advisors have worked tirelessly on a strategy to respond, one that will not only defend her record, but also expose the misinformation being spread by Leavitt and her allies. The next day, Harris steps onto the stage at another press conference, a different kind of determination in her eyes. This isn't just about defending herself. It's about setting the record straight for the American people. "Let me make this perfectly clear," Harris begins, her voice calm but resolute. "The accusations leveled against me are nothing more than political games. They are part of a coordinated smear campaign designed to distract from the real issues facing this country. Karoline Leavitt can throw all the documents she wants in front of the press, but I stand here with the truth. Truth that cannot be fabricated. Truth that cannot be manipulated." She pauses, letting the words sink in, before continuing with a sharp edge to her voice. "The American people deserve transparency, and I have given it to them. I have been open about every decision I've made as Vice President, and I will continue to be. I will not be intimidated by those who think they can use lies and deceit to undermine my work or the work of this administration. The press room is buzzing now, reporters from across the country leaning in, waiting for the next move. Harris stands tall, her confidence unwavering. "Let's talk about the facts," she says, her tone softening, as if to invite reason into the debate. "Under my leadership, border security has improved, budgets have increased, and the fight against MS-13 and other criminal gangs has intensified. Every challenge I've faced head-on, never hiding, never backing down." The room falls silent, absorbing Harris's words. "And as for the allegations about Joe Biden's health, let me be very clear. I never concealed anything. I've always been transparent with the American people, and I will continue to be." As the press conference wraps up, Harris's team feels the tide shifting in their favor. The documents and accusations that Leavitt had so confidently presented now seem less convincing in light of Harris's strong, direct defense. But this battle is far from over. Leavitt, still riding the momentum of her previous success, watches the press conference from her office, already planning her next move. She knows that the war for public opinion is far from won. She's ready to keep pushing, to keep exposing what she believes is the truth about Harris. But with every new revelation, the stakes get higher and the media circus grows more intense. The next few days will decide which side holds the upper hand in this political battle. Will Harris's calm, collected defense be enough to sway the public, or will Leavitt's unyielding accusations continue to gain traction? For now, all eyes are on Washington, where the battle for the truth and the future of the nation rages on. The political battlefield has now expanded beyond mere debates and press conferences. It's a full-scale media war. Karoline Leavitt, despite the mounting doubts about the authenticity of her documents, remains resolute. She has managed to keep the attention of a large portion of the public. Her accusations, even if controversial, have ignited a firestorm of discourse that is not easily quelled. Her supporters rally behind her as she continues to present her case, this time on a new platform, armed with a more aggressive approach. Leavitt's strategy is clear. Push forward with the narrative, regardless of the mounting opposition. She appears on prime-time television, speaking directly to the nation. "We cannot allow ourselves to be distracted by their manipulation," she says, her voice steady but resolute. "Kamala Harris and her team have worked tirelessly to distort the truth and hide the failures of this administration. It's time the American people wake up and see what's really happening behind the scenes." But the media landscape is shifting. What once seemed like a straightforward attack on Harris is now being scrutinized for its credibility. Investigative journalists dig deeper into Leavitt's claims, uncovering discrepancies in the documents she has presented. The spotlight begins to fall on her, with more and more people questioning her motives. Was she simply misled, or was this an orchestrated attempt to take down a political rival? Despite these challenges, Leavitt pushes forward, appearing on various conservative talk shows and news programs. Her message is consistent. Harris has failed the American people, and the truth needs to be exposed. We cannot afford to let politicians like Kamala Harris continue to deceive the public. If we let her get away with this, what's next? Our democracy. The pressure intensifies on Harris. She's faced with constant media scrutiny, but she remains calm and composed. She continues to defend her actions, doubling down on her commitment to transparency and the truth. Her team is working tirelessly, ready to pounce on any misstep made by Leavitt. The battle has now reached a level of intensity where every word counts, every statement is analyzed, and every tweet is dissected for hidden meanings. In an attempt to restore some normalcy to the situation, Harris calls for a press conference of her own. This time she steps into the spotlight with a renewed sense of purpose. Her speech is calm, but it's also direct, a clear declaration to the American people that she will not be swayed by lies or false narratives. "Let me make one thing clear," Harris begins, her voice firm. "I will not stand by and let anyone manipulate the truth for political gain. I've spent my career fighting for justice, for equality, and for the American people. Every decision I've made has been guided by the principles of fairness and transparency. I've faced challenges, yes, but I've never backed down. She continues, her voice growing stronger with each sentence. I understand the stakes of this office, and I understand what's at risk. But I also know that our country is stronger when we come together. We don't get to move forward by tearing each other down. We move forward by working together, by standing firm in our values, and by putting the needs of the American people first. The press room is silent, hanging on her every word. Harris's tone softens as she continues. I'm proud of the work we've done, but I know there's more to do. And I will continue to fight for the values that make this country great. The crowd responds with a mixed reaction. Some applaud, while others remain skeptical, unsure of where the truth lies. But Harris knows that this battle is far from over. She can't afford to let Leavitt's narrative take root, and she will continue to fight to ensure that the American people know the truth. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt watches Harris's press conference, eyes narrowed, fists clenched. She knows that Harris's words are calculated, but Leavitt believes that the truth is on her side. She watches as the media covers Harris's statements, analyzing every word, dissecting the content. It's clear that the battle for public opinion is ongoing, and Leavitt is determined to keep pushing her narrative. But as the weeks go by, cracks begin to appear in Leavitt's armor. New reports reveal that some of the documents she's presented have been manipulated. The authenticity of her sources is questioned, and her once unshakable confidence starts to falter. The public, while still divided, begins to turn away from her, no longer willing to trust the documents that seem too good to be true. Harris, on the other hand, capitalizes on this momentum. Her team, now armed with the knowledge that Leavitt's credibility is in question, presses forward. They flood the media with their own set of facts, showing the hard work that Harris has put into border security, healthcare, and economic reform. Slowly, the narrative begins to shift in her favor. As the months go by, the battle between Harris and Leavitt remains at the forefront of the political landscape. Yet, it's clear that Leavitt is beginning to lose ground. The public's faith in her has been shaken, and her attempts to continue her smear campaign fall flat as her documents are revealed to be unreliable. At the same time, Harris's approval rating starts to rise. The public begins to see her not as the villain Leavitt tried to paint her as, but as a steadfast leader who has faced adversity and emerged stronger for it. Her defense of her record, combined with her ability to stay calm under pressure, resonates with the American people. By the time the election season arrives, Harris has solidified her position as a strong contender, backed by a growing base of support. Leavitt, on the other hand, finds herself marginalized, her claims discredited, and her influence waning. The media, once enamored with her narrative, begins to question her motives and the authenticity of her evidence. The battle, once thought to be a defining moment in the political landscape, ends in a stunning shift. Harris, despite the intense media scrutiny and the barrage of accusations, stands tall, her reputation restored. She has weathered the storm, and now, with the support of her allies, including Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she is ready to face the challenges of the future. For Karoline Leavitt, the fight is over, for now. But in the world of politics, no one is ever truly finished. As she watches Harris's victory unfold on television, she knows that the next battle is always just around the corner, and when it comes, she will be ready. As Harris's victory seems assured, Karoline Leavitt, now grappling with the fallout of her discredited documents and shrinking public influence, refuses to back down. The media storm surrounding her has passed, but Leavitt is determined to make one final push for redemption. She knows that in the world of politics, perception is everything, and if she can spin this in the right direction, she might still salvage her career. Leavitt retreats from the spotlight for a few days, allowing the dust to settle. But she's not idle. Behind the scenes, she gathers a new team of strategic advisors, veterans of political wars who understand the power of the media cycle. They begin to plan their next move, one that will reassert Leavitt's place in the political arena. Meanwhile, Harris, riding high after her press conference victory and the steady rise in public approval, isn't resting on her laurels. She knows how quickly the political landscape can shift. In meetings with her advisors, she discusses the next steps for solidifying her position within the party. She's aware of Leavitt's lingering influence, and though she feels confident, she cannot afford to underestimate her opponent. "I've faced my fair share of adversity, and I've come out stronger," Harris says, speaking to her team. "But we have to keep pushing. We can't let anyone rewrite our narrative. Our work is far from done." Her advisors nod in agreement. Harris has emerged victorious, but the battle for trust and integrity in the eyes of the American public continues. As the days pass, Leavitt's team orchestrates a calculated comeback. In a surprise move, she releases a detailed exposé on social media. This time, not focusing solely on Harris, but also drawing attention to the flaws within the broader Democratic Party. She doesn't target just Harris anymore. She's going after the entire establishment. Leavitt's message resonates with a disillusioned portion of the electorate, and she begins to regain some of her lost momentum. "Once upon a time, the Democratic Party was a beacon of hope," she writes in a bold social media post. "But now, it's a machine, one that prioritizes power and image over the people it's supposed to serve. I've seen the corruption up close, and I'm not the only one who's seen it." The post goes viral. Leavitt's words, though controversial, strike a chord with many Americans who feel disconnected from their leaders. She takes aim at the establishment, accusing top figures of complacency and self-interest. The response from her followers is swift. Hashtags like "expose the elite" and "Ina Harris" the cover-up trend across social media, and Leavitt's voice once again becomes a rallying cry for those who feel unheard. The backlash is fierce, however, from Democratic officials who view Leavitt's new approach as reckless and dangerous. They launch a counteroffensive, dismissing her as a puppet of the right wing and accusing her of stirring division. But the damage is done. Leavitt is back in the game. Harris, on the other hand, remains focused. She has been fielding questions from the press about Leavitt's latest accusations. Her responses, though steady, begin to show signs of strain. Her campaign advisors are beginning to feel the pressure mounting once more. The public, despite its loyalty, is starting to question if Harris is indeed the unflappable leader they once believed her to be. Harris realizes that it's time to confront the situation head-on before it grows any larger. "I've heard the noise," Harris tells her team during a closed-door meeting. "I know there are those who want to see us fall, but I've faced worse than this before. We will address it, and we will address it with the truth." The next day, Harris addresses the nation in a primetime special broadcast, standing alone at a podium, her eyes unwavering. The weight of the moment is palpable, as millions of Americans tune in to hear from the woman who has become a symbol of resilience. "I'm not here to argue with Karoline Leavitt," Harris begins, her voice calm but full of resolve. "I'm here to speak the truth. I've spent my career fighting for this country, for its people, and I'm proud of the work we've done." She continues, recounting the significant achievements of her time in office. The progress on health care, economic recovery, job growth, and the expansion of civil rights. "I didn't come here to win political games or fight for power. I came here to serve, and that's what I've done. I won't let anyone distort that truth." Harris's speech is a masterclass in controlled strength. By the time she finishes, her approval rating spikes again. Her supporters, once wavering, rally behind her with renewed faith. The public sees her not just as a politician, but as a leader who stands firm in the face of adversity. Leavitt, watching the broadcast from her office, clenches her fists. Harris's response has been effective, but Leavitt is far from done. She knows that the truth is often buried under layers of political spin, and she intends to keep digging. In a final, dramatic move, Leavitt prepares to release a bombshell report that will challenge Harris's claims head-on. She's been working in secret with whistleblowers and sources within the Democratic Party, gathering what she believes will be irrefutable evidence of corruption at the highest levels. Her advisors warn her that this move could be dangerous, that it could cost her everything. But Leavitt is undeterred. She tweets out a cryptic message. The truth always finds a way to the surface. Tomorrow, the real story will come out. The next morning, Leavitt holds a press conference of her own. With a sense of triumph, she begins reading from a new set of documents, claiming they come from inside sources within Harris's campaign. The documents allege a covert network of political donations funneled to Democratic candidates in exchange for favors, including border security contracts and anti-immigration policies that enriched certain groups. "This is not about political rivalry," Leavitt says, her voice cutting through the tension. "This is about exposing a web of corruption that has been hidden from the American people for far too long. Kamala Harris isn't the savior she claims to be. She's part of a larger system that profits from chaos." The accusations send shockwaves through the media. Some outlets embrace the report, while others remain skeptical. The truth, once again, seems just out of reach. The political divide deepens as each side doubles down on its position. Meanwhile, Harris, exhausted from the relentless battle, braces for yet another round of attacks. But she is resolute. "This is just the beginning," she tells her team. "We've faced smears before, and we'll continue to fight for the truth." The next few weeks are filled with uncertainty. As new developments unfold, the public remains divided, unsure of whom to trust. For now, the fight for the truth is far from over, and the future of the nation hangs in the balance. As the battle for public opinion reaches a fever pitch, Karoline Leavitt's final report continues to shake the political landscape. The documents she's presented seem to be gaining traction, and once again, she's at the center of the media storm. But the growing question of their authenticity lingers in the air. The public, having been exposed to a relentless wave of accusations and counter-accusations, is beginning to grow fatigued. The media landscape, once flooded with intense scrutiny of Kamala Harris, now finds itself in a chaotic spiral, unsure of what to believe. Leavitt, sensing that her momentum might soon slip, prepares for one final public appearance. She has one last chance to deliver the knockout blow that could bring Harris down for good. As the day of her press conference arrives, she steps onto the stage, eyes burning with determination. "I'm not here to waste your time," Leavitt says, addressing the cameras directly. "This isn't a political game. This is about the future of our country. The documents I've shown, the truth I've revealed, cannot be ignored. Kamala Harris has sold out the American people, and it's time for her to face the consequences." The press conference is broadcast live across the nation. Her supporters cheer her on, but there are still many who question her credibility. The air in the room feels thick with anticipation. For Leavitt, this is the moment that could make or break her career. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, who has been following the developments closely, steps into the Oval Office, where her team has prepared a comprehensive response. She knows this could be the final test of her political strength. The pressure weighs heavily on her shoulders, but she remains unfazed. She's weathered storms before, and she's ready to face this one head-on. "Karoline Leavitt has tried to paint me as a villain, as someone who has failed this country," Harris tells her team. "But we've done more than fight for progress. We've delivered, and that's not going to change." The next day, Harris steps onto the national stage one last time. This time, she's not just defending her record. She's standing tall, unshaken, and resolute. The cameras flash. The audience holds its breath. Harris knows that her words will be scrutinized, but she's ready to deliver a message of unity and strength. "My opponents have tried to tear me down with lies, with false documents, and with accusations that have no basis in truth," Harris begins, her voice steady and strong. "But I will not let these lies define me or my legacy." She continues, "Throughout my time as Vice President, I've fought for the American people, from expanding health care to protecting women's rights, from standing up for immigrant communities to ensuring a brighter future for our children. I have always put the needs of the American people first, and I will continue to do so, no matter what lies they spread. Harris's words strike a chord with many Americans. She's not just defending herself, she's reaffirming her commitment to the principles she holds dear. The crowd in the room reacts, some applauding, others simply nodding in agreement. Her speech is a statement of defiance, of unwavering determination to push forward for the greater good. We cannot let ourselves be divided by fake news and baseless accusations, Harris concludes. We must stand together and continue the work we've started. Our future is built on truth, on unity, and on a shared vision of a better tomorrow. The applause is deafening. As Harris leaves the stage, she knows that this is her moment of triumph. The public, for the most part, has rallied behind her once again. The media that had once been her harshest critic is now forced to reckon with the fact that her defense has held strong. Back in her office, Karoline Leavitt watches Harris's speech on television. For the first time, there's a flicker of doubt in her eyes. The documents she's presented have been thoroughly debunked, and her once unquestionable claims are now under intense scrutiny. She clenches her jaw, knowing that her position is weakening. But Leavitt, ever determined, refuses to admit defeat. One loss doesn't mean the end, she mutters to herself, her voice low. There's always another fight, another day. But the media, the public, and her political allies are already moving on. The story that once dominated the news cycle now takes a back seat to new issues that emerge. Leavitt's name begins to fade from the headlines, replaced by other news, and her influence wanes. The White House, once a strong supporter, quietly distances itself from her as her credibility crumbles. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, stands victorious, her political future now solidified. Despite the intense media war, she has emerged not only unscathed, but stronger. Her approval rating soars, and her leadership is reaffirmed. The American people, once divided by Leavitt's accusations, now look to Harris with renewed trust and confidence. As the media frenzy dies down, Harris and her team turn their focus back to the work ahead. The next election looms, and the stakes are high. But Harris knows that this battle has taught her an important lesson, that truth, integrity, and resilience will always prevail in the end. In the aftermath of the political clash, Jasmine Crockett, who had been one of Harris's staunchest defenders, smiles as she watches the outcome unfold. The battle between Harris and Leavitt has been long and grueling, but Crockett knows that Harris's strength and resolve have ultimately won the day. Sometimes the fight is more than just about winning, Crockett says, reflecting on the journey. It's about standing up for what's right, no matter how hard the road ahead may be. And so, the story of Karoline Leavitt's rise and fall, and Kamala Harris's struggle to defend her legacy, comes to a close. The political world has been shaken, but it has also learned an important lesson about the power of truth, the importance of integrity, and the strength that comes from standing together. For now, Harris and her allies can breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that they've weathered the storm. But the political winds will always shift, and there will always be another battle to face. And when that time comes, Kamala Harris will be ready. It's about standing up for what's right, no matter how hard the road ahead may be. And so, the story of Karoline Leavitt's rise and fall, and Kamala Harris's struggle to defend her legacy, comes to a close. The political world has been shaken, but it has also learned an important lesson about the power of truth, the importance of integrity, and the strength that comes from standing together. For now, Harris and her allies can breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that they've weathered the storm. But the political winds will always shift, and there will always be another battle to face. And when that time comes, Kamala Harris will be ready.